This is going to be a doozy. We're talking today about the Diddy trial. We are talking about the Diddy trial, and we are going to be doing a little forensic breakdown of what actually happened. I know that, people have their different theories, but, for those of us who understand spiritual things, then we're gonna dive into this and see, exactly what went down, why, what are the repercussions. Like, I just can't. I couldn't believe. To some extent, I could believe it, but then I was like, oh yeah, and I think a lot of us had that reaction. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that today. Forensic look into the Diddy trial. What actually happened? Here we go again. All right, everybody. So, want to welcome everyone back. I am, for those of you who don't know me, I am Shelly, Minister Shelly here, and I am your host of the Crowns podcast. Want to welcome you if you're listening, or if you listen to this by way of podcast or by way of YouTube, if you're watching by way of YouTube or Facebook or Rumble. I want to welcome you back here, and we're going to do a little deep dive. I'm just going to check my sound and make sure everything, okay, make sure we got sound and all of that. So it looks like we're good to go. And guys, like, I have just been shocked. Like, um, I don't know. I guess because of, after the election and everything, like, I'm not one of those who thinks that, that Trump is God, or anything like that. But I was just a little bit shocked that the deep state was able to pull this off again, and, I think that's really what happened here. I think, of course, I agree that it was a show trial. I think it was a show trial. I think that the elite have played their game again, and most of us fell for it. So, when the feds got involved and the feds did the search and seizure, basically searched his homes, and all of that. We felt like things were pretty much um, locked, pretty much legitimate. That okay, this is coming from the feds, and this guy's gonna go down, right? But then when you really, really think about it, and you think about who's involved in the feds, right? And who they're even trying to, why the feds, why the Epstein files haven't even been able to be uncovered or actually be exposed or, reviewed. Um, all of them, because of the feds, and because of who is pulling strings there. And, you know, uh, yeah, this is just another one of their games. This is another one of their games. I believe 100% that the elite are involved. And the reason I believe that is because of what went on in the trial, who was absent from the trial, and also the people that have been MIA, since the trial began. You know what I mean? Um, for example, what happened to Ali Carter? you know what happened to some of these people, what happened to the adopted girl, the girl that he adopted, the Caucasian girl, what happened to Christina Quorum? Where is Christina? We don't know. What happened to all of the celebrities that were name dropped here and there in the you know in the in, during the duration of this process, and why weren't their names brought up? What happened to why number one? Okay, here's another one. How come he didn't have any witnesses? how come there was no one to stand to get up on the stand on his behalf? You know, I just there's just these contributing factors that make me think this was a rigged trial, that this was a show trial. Also, like, what happened to the record execs? What happened to, to the people that were backing him before? What happened to the celebrities that were backing him before? What happened to the politicians that were backing him before, that are nowhere to be seen now? You know what I mean? I mean, we know that Diddy wasn't a Democrat. I was going to say Republican. No, we know that Diddy. I can't even say it. That Diddy was a Democrat. Democrat. Democrat, okay? Diddy is a Democrat, okay? So what happened to all the politician Democrat friends that were, that had his backing? He had their backing, you know, Obama, Biden, Kamala Harris, he was, I'm saying, he was down, he was rocking with them, he was pushing them, he was playing their game. So what happened to his support? How come no one took the stand on his behalf? No one got up there to even say, hey, I don't believe this man is guilty at all. That's because everybody knew what was going on. That's because it was definitely a rigged trial. Now, you can say, you can, drop your opinions and drop your comments and let me know what you think. But I think that this was definitely a show trial. And some of you might say, well, what is a show trial? A show trial is just that. It is a trial that, that is put on for show to the public, or to show the public that, yes, we had a trial. Yes, we had a legitimate, brought this man, before the judge and jury, and we had a legitimate, fair trial. But it was not a fair trial. It wasn't a fair trial because a lot of key components were missing. A lot of key people were missing. And, when you do a little bit of digging on that, you can only come up with one or two reasons. Number one, I don't know if any of you remember, but I remember when it was said that Diddy had stated that if he goes down, he's going to take everybody down with him. Right. We know that he had blackmail, videos and everything. So different celebrities and politicians on video. Right. That those videos were confiscated by the feds, but not even half of that video footage or video evidence was used in the trial. And not even half of it was actually even released after they confiscated it. Right. We saw where some of the video footage of some of the quote unquote freak offs. I hate even saying that word. To me, it just sounds so dirty. But the video footage of that, they cherry picked and they showed that video footage to the jurors, and yes, they had to sit there and watch, a lot of that footage. But I don't think it was the footage with the politicians. I don't think it was the footage with the A-list celebrities. I think it was the footage just basically, with the witnesses that were there. Cassie, the Jane Doe witness, which we believe that was 50 Cent's baby's mama, that, Diddy kind of won her over or what have you. And the sex workers, right? But no one mentioned, and it could have been that some of the footage included, some of the A-list celebrities and some of the politicians. But uh it could have been it could have been hushed. Maybe, they prepped the jurors and they said, hey, don't say XYZ, etc. I'm not really sure how that went down, but I do know that when it comes to the occult, when it comes to the Freemasons, Diddy is a Freemason. When it comes, and he's part of the Black Cabal, right? When it comes to those organizations and those networks, they have their means, they have their ways of getting things done, especially in the court system, especially when it comes to high profile celebrities like Diddy that have a lot of dirt on these politicians and a lot of dirt on these A-list celebrities, so that's the one thing, where were they? Where was Christina? Where was Christina? I heard, that Christina was being paid 500,000, over $600,000 a year by Diddy, right? So, but she never showed up in the trial. Her name was was tossed around severally during the trial, but she never showed up. The judge never ordered her to come in. She was never subpoenaed. She was never, took the stand or anything. So I'm just wondering, where was she? Did she take some kind of deal, or how come she did not? Hey, man of God, how are you? How come she did not? Say anything? How come she didn't show up? That's what I'm saying. How come she didn't show up? Um, uh, my brother and my friend and my um, I don't even want to say it on here, but Pastor Becky, hello, welcome. This is kind of odd, but he says spot on, Mr. Shelley. This trial is like having a public Jerry Epstein trial without putting Ghislaine Maxwell on the stand. Feds cover up a corrupt demonic system. Absolutely, because even one of the I think it was one of the attorneys, Jeffrey Epstein's attorneys, um, daughter was one of the attorneys for Diddy. She was on Diddy's team, right? So we see these key players that just, that are just like, kind of hidden figures. If nobody knows, no, then nobody knows, right? If nobody knows, then nobody knows. But oh, hey, Mama Deborah, how are you? Yeah. So so if nobody knows, nobody knows. But for those who do know and for those who do remember, then they're asking these questions. We're asking these questions like, where are these people? You know what I mean? What happened? I'm very, very curious to know what happened to Allie Carter. Because people have been afraid that she actually was quote unquote offed, because she hasn't been saying anything and she hasn't popped up and or anything. So what actually happened there? What actually happened there? And why did all of the A-list celebrities just shut down? You know what I mean? And they didn't say anything. They didn't say anything on his behalf. Now we can say, yeah, because they didn't want to get in trouble too. They didn't want to go down with the ship. But I also believe that they knew that he was going to get off. I think they knew that he was going to, get a slap on the wrist because of the connections that they have, right? And I'm going to play a little video clip for you from the same guy that I always kind of share with you guys, because I think he's spot on, and he's a man of God, and he does, really good research on these things. But I think, because we know who's really running things in this country. Come on, because we know who's really running things in this country, then these are things that we just can't ignore, right? We just cannot. It would be foolish to ignore that, right? It would really be foolish, especially when you look at people like Clive Davis and you look at people like I forget the other guy's name, but the Universal record executives that, what I'm saying. We thought they were shaking in their boots. Actually, I don't think they were shaking in their boots. I think they had a game plan, and this was a game plan. Show trial. Let me play this clip for you, and then we'll be back here. Hold on. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I'll play it for you. See? Can y'all see that? Hold on. Can't see it. Okay, let me try it again here. Um, mm, this is okay. Let me try it again. Y'all still can't see it? Hold on, guys. Hold on. Hold on. What is wrong with this thing? So y'all couldn't see y'all can't see the clip. Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't on the media share screen. That was the problem. Hold on. Media share. Okay. Hope you guys can still see me. Okay, I think I found the problem. All right, let's try it again. Guys, so okay, so my daughter is here. Hey. She said, "No, ma'am, I can't see." Okay, so what am I doing wrong here? Hold on. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on. Cuz I really want you guys to see it. Let me see. Add new layer. Sometimes this thing works and sometimes it doesn't, and it's so annoying. Hold on. Um, Maybe it's because I'm on this thing. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna try it one more time. I'm gonna try it one more time because otherwise I would have to get off and reset the stream and then come back, and I'm trying to avoid doing that. So let's see. Okay, just listen. Just listen. You don't hear. Okay. Okay. So sorry. I'm getting text messages now saying I don't hear anything. So I'm just gonna put the link. I'm gonna put the link in the chat, and that way you guys can watch it. Um, okay, so here's the link. You guys can watch it. It's by the Truth Is channel, and it's called Diddy Verdict in Why He Will Go Free. So basically, what he's saying is that, obviously, the elite are protecting him. Obviously, you know, yeah, they're basically protecting him, and they're pulling the strings here, and that's the reason why he only got a slap on the wrist. I think it's just a slap on the wrist because, you know, um, when they said he wasn't guilty of RICO, even though RICO is more geared toward like high profile, uh, you know, dealers and things like that, like Capone, and that would be Rico. High level gangsters and drug dealers, but because his offenses were geared more so toward uh, sex trafficking and things like that. And the RICO wasn't so prominent. You know what I mean? I definitely 100% believe that it it wasn't just about sex for him. I don't think it was just about, even though with the Freemasons and everything, and the rituals that they do, sex magic is one of those rituals, and I think it's the biggest one that they actually use. Oh, you can't hear me? You can't hear me? Oh, sorry. Oh, that I didn't close that message. Okay. Um, that's the biggest one that they use. Um, to corrupt, you know, um, newcomers and so on and so forth, to get them involved and to appease their quote unquote gods, right? Or their god. And I want to, with that, I also want to say that we can't forget that Diddy started out claiming Christianity. Okay. He started out claiming Christianity. He said that his grandmother used to take him to church when he was little and so on. And, he really, believed in God at first. So, it's just another, tick on the enemy's list of people. Whereas, they got into the industry, they were, Christian believers, they believed in God, they were trying to use their faith. I don't think, he was really like, you know, um, uh, sold out, you know what I'm saying? Sold out to the faith. But I believe that he had enough that he knew that God was real. And I think he still does. But he's so he is so driven by power and wealth that he tossed his faith. Basically, he tossed his faith. And when you get into these organizations, you have to denounce your faith. That's the real deal. You have to denounce your faith. There's no way he made it to the top like that. There's no way he made all that money and gained all that influence and power without denouncing his faith, and not to mention the fact that he was groomed by the record executives. He was groomed by Clive Davis. He was groomed, by Lucian Grange. He was groomed. He was groomed. And he was also, trafficked. He was also trafficked. That's just how it goes. And so, but I don't think that it was just about the sex magic and the rituals. I think it was also about, um, the crime bosses. It was also about the political crime bosses that were making money on the back end. Because if you've been in this country long enough, then you know that the how do you call it, the drug um enforcement, the drug rings in this country are controlled. They're not just, you know, criminals trying to get away with something, or and trying to make money. They're tied in, they are connected, they're plugged in, they're plugged in through, law enforcement, they're plugged in through politicians, they're plugged in through even the CIA. They are plugged in, right? How do I know that? Because when I was doing my thing, um, we found that out, we found that out right off the bat. Like, we had, police officers paid off. We had people in high places that were paid off. Okay. And I can't say much more about it than that. Right. But I'm not in trouble with the law, but that happened. You know what I'm saying? And so I know how easy it is to get it done. That's what I want to say. I know how easy it is to get it done. And that's the reason why we were able to get as far as we did, to the point of, yeah, that's how we were able to get as far as we did. And this was back in the 90s, right? Back in the early 90s, when, crack had just, became popping, and, people started, really, really dealing that. So, uh, it's not just about the rituals, it's not just about that, but it's about, the illegal drug activity that is going on behind the scenes. It is also about um, political power plays, I would say, and where they are using the artist, using the artist, and things like that, to relay a certain narrative and to push a certain narrative to the public, to culture, to control the culture, to control the narrative of the country. And Yeah, corrupting the youth is the best way to control the youth. You have to corrupt them first. So that's just how it goes down. And with regard back to the trial, okay, so we know that he got off with Rico, not guilty on Rico, not guilty sex trafficking for Cassie, and for Jane, right? I forget that girl's name, but she is, if you know her name, put it in the chat. But she's 50 Cent's ex girl, or his baby's mom. So, but we won't say her name because she used the name Jane. She used an alias, so we'll just say Jane. Um, so he got off with those, and then he also, and then he was convicted for transporting, right? Transporting Cassie, and transporting Jane. Now, here's the thing: they're saying that his sentencing is going to be in October. He was denied bail, so they say that he's going to be sentenced in October. But his lawyers came back and are trying to push for him to get another hearing next week, I believe on the 8th, next week, and to try to get him out again. Right? He's been denied bail now, like, what, 4 times in total. So I don't know, if this judge is going to give him bail. It could be another part of the show trial. You know what I'm saying? It could be another part of the show trial that, there has to be a little resistance, so that it's believable, right? So that it's believable. But, so far, the judge has not granted him bail on any of these occasions. And it's the same judge that denied his bail in the beginning, right? So they're trying to get another hearing for next week so that he can try to get out on bail again. Or no, not to get it, not to. Well, they are going to try to get him out on bail again, but the purpose of the hearing is for to try to get the sentencing expedited, to try to get the sentencing expedited and see if they can get it done sooner than October, right? Um, and we know that the two charges that he was um, found guilty of, they both carry like a 10-year sentence, up to 10 years sentencing. And so that's like, 20 years max if they run concurrent. But I'm also, seeing where they want to give him at least 5 years, because those um sentence terms can be reduced. They can be reduced. And when we saw what happened with the Young Thug trial, I don't know if any of y'all follow these trials, but I do. I think it's interesting because I've always been interested in, music, entertainment, and things like that. As you can see, I'm doing film directing and trying to, break that mountain, break into that mountain. But it's always been something. And back in the day, these were some of my favorite artists. I came up in the '90s, and well, I was I didn't come up in the '90s, but I was yeah, doing my street thing in the '90s. I'll just put it that way. So a lot of these were my favorite artists too. So, it's like, to see what's really going on and how they pull the wool over our eyes and how they deceive so many people, with through this music. And just had us out there just looking like a fool. Like, we really let the devil make a fool out of us. We really, really did. So, I'm interested in finding out what's really happening behind the scenes and who's really pulling the strings there, because I know that there are puppet masters that are controlling these celebrities. Um, and yeah, so if he gets 5 years, he was ecstatic. His family was ecstatic when they found out that he was not guilty of the most serious charge, the RICO charge, that he could have went down for life. But they were devastated when the judge turned right back around and denied his bail. They thought he was going to go home yesterday, but the judge turned around and denied his bail instantly. So you know he's not going to go home. And the thing is that if he stays in jail until October, if his sentencing is in October, he still has lawsuits hitting him left, right, and center. He has 66 civil lawsuits, guys. 66 civil lawsuits, and a fresh one just popped out today, where an exotic dancer came out and said that he's suing him, or he did sue him for $10 million, for all kinds of stuff that we don't even want to talk about here. You can look that up on your own time, but stuff that we don't even want to talk about. Like, as believers, as children of God, we should not be even, we should not even be speaking on those kinds of things. That's how graphic it is, and that's how bad it is. Um, but he got hit with that lawsuit, and then he has um, a slew of other, like I said, 66 civil lawsuits that he's facing right now. And he's going to have to deal with those lawsuits while he's just think like while he is locked up. um if he gets hit with another federal charge, right? If he gets hit with another federal charge rather than another civil charge, you know um what I'm saying? He could never come out. If he stays in there until October and he has to deal with these 66 civil lawsuits, it's going to take, time. He's going to have to, work through those lawsuits one by one. His attorneys are going to have to go through first of all, try to see which ones, are easy to get rid of. Maybe he can just pay them off. Maybe he can just, um, what I'm saying, make a deal with them. But the others, he's going to have to go to court on each one of those lawsuits, and there's 66 of them. 66 of them, guys. And that is just crazy. Like, that is just crazy. So just imagine being in jail. uh you know you're trying to await sentencing for federal charges, and you already know that you're going to have to go down for at least 5 years, right? Unless his puppet masters can get him a better deal. But then while you're in there, you have to face all these civil suits. You have to show up for all these civil suits and try to just, I mean, it's like, what I'm wondering is the judge, if the judge is a Freemason. That's what I'm wondering. And I didn't look that up. Like, I'm wondering, let me see, what's the name? I know how to look it up. I'm wondering if, because that's going to answer a lot of questions, guys. Because if he is Judge Arun Subram, oh, I can't even say his last name, but his name is Judge Arun. Okay. Um, I want to know if he's a Freemason, because that's gonna tell us whether or not this is an actual uh it's gonna tell if it's an actual show trial or not. This guy he's Indian, right? He's from India. He's from looks like he's from Delhi, India. Um and we know that we know what that is about in terms of Hinduism and all that kind of things. That's the roots. But I want to know, like, what his religious beliefs are. Okay. Okay. So maybe that's why he's slapping him left, right, and center. Like, no bail, nope, we're not doing that, nope, because it says that when I just googled it, and it says based on the provided information, there's no indication that Judge Arun is a Freemason. The search results highlight his role as a judge on the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York. Da da da. None of the articles provided or sources mention any association with Freemasonry. There is a list. Um, there is a list of judges on their website, and that's what I want to look at. This one is for California. Okay, international. I just want to see. Yeah, I don't see his name. So that could be, guys, that could be where the puppet masters are trying to get away with this, and they set up a show trial. I know that when he was in court, um, based on the drawings and things like that, some of the images show where he was giving certain signs, hand signals, and things like that, doing certain things with his hands. And that was another thing that came up in the video that I was trying to show you, was the hand signals, the hand gestures, because they kind of have a sign language, the Freemasons do. And so whenever you signal that to the judge or to the jury, or someone, you know, um, you know, who has any kind of deciding authority, um, that it's going to get you some kind of deal. It's going to get you some kind of deal. They're not going to just you know throw you out with the bathwater. They are going to try to rescue you, because they're all on one team. But yeah, I don't see him. I don't see him. And when I look up anyone else, I can see them, but I don't see him on there. So maybe they tried to get away with it, and the judge was like, I'm not one of y'all. I'm not one of y'all. And he's going right back to jail, and he's going to stay in jail until sentencing in October. If we if next week on the 8th, when they have this hearing to see whether or not they can get the sentencing pushed forward, like to get it expedited, if he does not grant that, he's trying to put Diddy away, and that tells us that he's not a Freemason. So, if that's the case, then kudos to Judge Haroon. I was listening to this one guy, and I was listening to this one guy who was at the Diddy trial, and he was talking about how when he was acquitted on the RICO charges and the sex trafficking charges, that he was that people were outside like fighting, people were outside pouring baby oil on themselves and celebrating and dancing and all kind of stuff, and it was just crazy. And then he was talking about how he had a conversation with Janice Combs, with Diddy's mom, in the cafeteria, and this guy, he's just so funny. But he was saying that he was looking. He makes fun of Janice's wigs, like he says that they're Party City wigs, and you know. It's just funny. It's just a side joke here, guys. We're just having fun tonight. But he was saying that, I was looking for Christina Coram, but Auntie Coram wouldn't show up. So I was wondering if she was hiding in Janice's wig, So when I was talking to Janice, I had to stand up so I could look up in there and see if Christina was in the wig. Guys, it was so funny. But um I really think that, that could have been why these people didn't show up. It could be why Christina was never called to the stand, why she never showed up either, even to support Diddy. Like, he's paying you over $600,000 a year. Come on. And but you don't even show up to support him. So, and she was his right hand man, so to speak. She was his publicist. She was his, she was running his show. So I think that that could be, that could be the reason. It could be the reason why nobody showed up in his defense, is because the judge don't play. You know what I'm saying? Like, they knew that he wasn't going to get away with everything. And there are some attorneys that are saying that no, he wasn't going to go down for RICO in the first place because what he was doing wasn't really considered RICO. But when you look at the testimonies, and the drug mule that was there, that testified, and so on, we can clearly see that drugs were being trafficked. Drugs were being moved from here to there. It was an organized crime organization, and he was guilty of at least two. Uh, offenses that are connected to RICO: sex trafficking and drug trafficking. So organized crime, that's organized crime, when you're trafficking people across state lines, for these quote unquote freak offs. So yeah, it's just a very, very interesting, very, very interesting, I will say. I put the link to that video in the chat, so that you can check it out, because that's the only one that I would really share with you guys. I think that it's pretty concise, it's pretty straightforward, and it is clean. You know what I mean? It's clean enough to get the information that, you know on the puppet masters that are backing him up. The puppet masters that are backing him up. So yeah, so that's pretty much all I wanted to say, guys, is that um in my eyes, I think that Diddy is guilty. I think that they did give him a slap on the wrist, but the judge just, he could not let him off with everything. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't let him off with everything because he probably knew um what was going on. I think he probably just knew what was going on, and he's like, yeah, but I'm not a part of that. I'm not a part of that. So, he's gonna do some time. Um, but he's not going home. Okay. He is not going home. And, I just really think that when it comes to these predators, they they should not go home. They are a danger to society. They need to be, you know, treated as such if they're not repentant. You know what I'm saying? He's not repenting. He's a warlock, and he is calling on his God and doing rituals to get his God to do what he needs him to do. So when it comes to that, we don't play around. No, you need to be locked up. You need to do something. You need to do something. There needs to be some kind of repercussions, and these people need to feel safe. Imagine him getting out of jail, and then everybody, I mean, people are already fleeing the country. People are already fleeing the country because of this right here. They're scared that, when he gets out, if he gets out, they don't want to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to have to deal with that because they're going to have to deal with the whole organization. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you enjoyed my little breakdown of this. And sorry for the video not being able to play the video. I'll try to see if I can do it on another day. But seeing that I couldn't play it, I'm just going to have to um, reset this software and then try to play it next time. So, but the link is in the description. The link will be in the description, so you can see it anyway. All right, I love you guys. I will see you guys soon. Take care. Pray, okay? Pray. That's the main thing. Pray against these deep south, these occult, organizations and networks that are controlling this stuff in the country, because Diddy's not the last one. You know what I'm saying? He's not the only one. There are many others that, same situation, you know what I mean? Same situation. And, we need to pray. That's basically what we need to do as believers. We need to pray because God is shaking this stuff out for a reason. These people are being exposed for a reason. And, some of them are not going to get off with it. I know Young Thug got off with it. I know Rihanna's husband got off with it. And now it looks like Diddy got a slap on the wrist. But there are others that are higher up that need to come down. So we still need to be praying. We still need to be praying. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyway, I love you guys. I will see you guys next time. Let me know if this was, how you feel about it. What are your thoughts on the verdict? What are your thoughts on, what do you think God is showing you on what could happen? What could happen? Is he gonna be able to get bail? Is he gonna be able to get an early trial? Excuse me, an early sentencing, or do you think he's just gonna stay in there, and do 20 years or 5 years? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you next time. God bless you and take care.